Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these numbers while we run the headlines here. We're going to take a look at it. It's the Fed in an emergency meeting. We got Gary Gensler in the news, ladies and gentlemen. You're probably not going to like it. Then we're going to hear from a former Credit Suisse employee, Brent Johnson. The guy talks about the milkshake theory. We need to get into that, and a new dollar system, a new monetary system, in fact. Jamie Dimon, why is he so nervous? SWIFT is touting a pivotal moment for global payments is coming. And Trumer or rumor, XRP escrow release for October, did it happen? We're going to find out. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. $971 billion market cap for crypto. Thank you to Coin Paprika. Right now, Bitcoin, 19,300, Ethereum, 1,300, a couple bucks over, and XRP at the number 6 spot is 45 cents. Good morning to everyone. If you're not aware of it, I love working with Glint, and I love being a customer even more. Right here, you can too. Are you looking for a key to financial security with the real allocated gold, physical allocated gold? Because Glint offers unprecedented liquidity to gold, thereby providing security and peace of mind in a world turned upside down by high inflation and geopolitical unrest. And it just seems to get worse and unfold in a bad way more every day. Click the link underneath the video. You start using that gold card with physically allocated gold directly to you, you won't stop. It is something else. I absolutely love it. If you think the calendar is bad that was released last week of the SEC for William Hinman and his time there, wait until you see the emails from Hinman and everyone else involved, says ProCoin News. Make sure you give them a follow. I happen to wonder if we're ever going to see those emails. And take a look at what we're talking about here when we're saying there's so much uncertainty in the world, and we know inflation is just ravaging every country is being touched by it. And banks are feeling the pressure here. Take a look at a few bank stocks right now. Credit Suisse, almost 60%. They're off by 56%. BNP Paribas, 28%. Deutsche Bank, 32%. This is very bad. And what they're saying here now is between Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank have assets that are now 4.6 times more than what Lehman Brothers had with the time of the collapse in 2008. Trouble is really teetering, and this only makes it worse. You know, Jim Cramer is in fact the George Costanza of investment knowledge and advice. There's no question. I believe he absolutely works to corral the masses to put their money in places for the larger people. It's my personal opinion about him. I have a very low opinion of him. You should know that going in. But when he says something, the opposite usually happens. So he says Credit Suisse is fine. So it looks like to me he has finalized the collapse. Brace for impact, ladies and gentlemen. Coinbase said we're currently unable to take payments. This was yesterday morning, payments or make withdrawals even involving U.S. bank accounts, but it has been resolved for anybody looking for clarity on the matter. They've implemented a fix to solve the U.S. bank account withdrawals and payment issues, so it is taken care of. And here we have Gary Gensler, who now has brought a case against Kim Kardashian, saying that she has violated and obviously paid the fine already. And this is what we're talking about. But there's a scarier side to him. Take a listen to this.
Help us understand why you brought this case and why you settled it.
Thank you, Andrew. It's good to be with you. Look, Congress passed a law many decades ago called the Securities Act, and it was to protect the public. And part of that law said that if you tout a stock, you need to disclose not only that you're getting paid, but also the amount, so the source and the nature of those payments. And so this was to protect the public when folks, and this law was passed in the 1930s. We've brought these types of cases over the decades, but even in the last 5 years with regard to crypto, it's really important that the public understand if somebody is touting a crypto security token, that are they getting paid and how much are they getting paid? And we brought a case a number of years ago, I think four years ago, against Floyd Mayweather, against DJ Khalid, Steve Seagal, an actor, and others over the years. So this is, unfortunately, it's another time that we brought a case.
So there you have it. But listen, advertising products is something we do here on the channel all the time. I certainly disclose that they are sponsors, and there's nothing wrong with legally advertising these things. What they're discussing here is about people who are talking up these things and not disclosing on their channel or their social media, what have you, that this stuff has been, endorsed through a paid endorsement, right? So, but I certainly appreciate the SEC's chair, Gary Gensler's angle in trying to make just general advertising look illegal too. But you know what? Maybe it's all for this. Maybe that great distraction and a truth becomes a great distraction, rather, for this emergency meeting for the Federal Reserve today. Yeah, maybe that's why we're talking about Kim Kardashian on this day. Not that she didn't do the things. She obviously paid the fine, it seems. But there's a darker side when it comes to Gary Gensler, and it's the fact that he's not only the SEC chair, but he's also a member on FSOC. And as I have explained many times on this channel, they do not need Congress's approval to write the rules from FSOC because they are a prudential regulator. Listen to him explain it.
Reserve, and I'm a member of something called the Financial Stability Oversight Council, again, something Congress set up after the 2008 crisis. And yet we're an independent agency where if we write a rule, and certainly if we do enforcement actions, we don't check in with the White House. And that's by Congress's will. Congress wrote the law that way.
And there you have it. And it goes on and talk about other stuff. But the reality here is exactly that. This is why I've told you that Gary Gensler has the blessing from Congress and the White House. And as a member of FSOC, it should scare the hell out of all of us that he has the blessing from both of those branches of government. This right here is Brent Johnson, who's going to talk about, hey, maybe we see a new monetary system introduced, a new Bretton Woods moment. What, really? Oh, do tell. Brent Johnson's a very smart guy. He's talked about, he might even be the person who came up with the milkshake theory, which is essentially, in short, and I'm going to really cut a lot of it out, but the dollar going deflationary as it appears to be doing now while the rest of the world is in distress because of that, and a melt-up moment becoming ultimately a meltdown in the end for the dollar. But take a listen here.
Well, ultimately
and shout out to DAI and Linda P. Jones for this.
I think is going to happen is that this currency crisis that I've spoken about will cause some kind of an event where the system gets reset. Now
that's an important thing that he just said right there. And I'm going to let the rest of this clip play. But listen, some important event. It is key for all of us to understand, no matter how many different metrics we look at in the economy, housing, this, that, and the other. It was a housing problem and crisis that was created in the 08, 09, right? Well, it's a currency crisis today.
Whether they write off sovereign debt in that environment, or whether they come up with a new currency system like a new Bretton Woods, I really don't know. I think something's going to be forced on the governments of the world. What I think will come next is some sort of government-sponsored stablecoin. Whether it's FedCoin or what do they call it, the Coin Now or something. I know they announced it a month ago. I don't remember the exact name. But I think, the genie's kind of out of the bottle with.
And to be fair, I said I wasn't going to stop it again, but I need to. FedNow is a domestic rail payment system. Certainly could use stable coins or a wholesale CBDC on it, right? But just, full disclosure for everybody, there's a lot of different people and their level of knowledge listening here. I believe FedNow, because it's a domestic system, won't use XRP within the system because it doesn't need to. But I believe organizing that domestic liquidity and tokenizing all of it will allow for the biggest, most, I guess, the biggest liquidity pool for XRP to be used to make across to other domestic platforms and become the bridge in between them. That's how I see it.
With the stable coins and with the Bitcoin and the rise of crypto, I think that the governments of the world are going to adopt what was created in the private market and use it. I don't think we're going to go to a Bitcoin standard. I don't think Bitcoin is going to become money. I think governments are going to kind of co-opt that digital asset space for their own. It doesn't mean that digital assets won't still exist and be a store of value or trade as a reserve asset in some form or another. But I do think that we're going, I expect us to continue to have a fiat system. It would be the first time kind of in the history of the world, not totally, but to a certain extent that no government was overseeing the money, right? And it was just a total free market for money. I think that's very highly unlikely. I know kind of within the crypto world and within the digital asset space, DeFi is kind of an important thing. I actually think that the world, this is not what I want, but it's what I see. I think we're going towards a more centralized world rather than a decentralized world. I think power is being consolidated rather than given away. And I think when we get into this sovereign debt crisis, you're going to see even more power consolidated. And when that happens, I do not expect whoever wins that battle, I don't expect them to cede power over the currency to somebody else, or certainly not a private market currency.
Right. And so now I have an account at Bank of America. Bank of America has an account with the Fed. The move to a central bank digital currency would allow me to have an account with the Fed. Do you think that the commercial banks sort of get cut off on the action? And what do you think? The commercial bank system is extremely important when people talk about printing money. So do you see how JP Morgan, how do these big banks thrive in an environment where everyday people can just interact with the Federal Reserve?
Well, so this is an area that I've thought a lot about, and I kind of find it really interesting. I haven't come to any conclusions yet, but I think there's a potential battle between the Treasury and the Fed, which sounds impossible because they work so closely together. But if you think about it, the Fed kind of represents the banks.
And a fire alarm goes off of all times. But, to just add to that point, this is why I believe that Chris Giancarlo really emphasizes that we need to keep in with the standing of a two-tiered banking system, right? The commercial banking and versus the back end of the central banking. If you put a workaround for the citizen to go directly to the Fed, and everybody can have a Treasury Direct account, but if you do that going direct to the Fed, then if they borrow and do money and business directly with the Fed, then that's going to cut out, and cause, I believe, the collapse that I think also Chris Giancarlo believes in the Digital Dollar Project as well. And I don't think you'll see that. I think you'll see a CBDC that's more wholesale back end. I think you'll see a public-private relationship, the adoption of a value protocol or protocols to be able to move that value across those networks. And that could possibly be XRP Ledger and XLM or something else, right? That's why we're here. We're speculators. We don't know the answer of it. But what I do know when I think about this and where they're at, because I think Brent's got it right, I think about the BIS and the M Bridge, right? The multi-jurisdiction central bank digital currency pilot, for which James Wallace has told us the XRP Ledger is certainly one of those being looked at, a bridge asset between the CBDCs. I also agree with Brent Johnson that he's got it right, that this system, this world we're moving to, the narrative is decentralization. But the reality is centralization, just like we've seen JP Morgan control Ethereum, and they are the largest stakeholder and controller of the Ethereum network. Just like we see central bank digital currencies being developed around the world, there's a reason for all of that, because that will be your on and off ramp. And then by that, they control who goes in and who comes out with what. And that's how you do it. And how do you control something that's open source and decentralized? You regulate it. And if you don't like the way it's going, you regulate it out of existence. And that's why Jamie Dimon, I believe, was so nervous in this clip, talking about zipping and zapping payments all around the place and being condescending to Senator Lummis, right? That's why we're seeing SWIFT tout the notion that this is a pivotal moment for global payments industry as we head towards an instant frictionless future. And understanding that SWIFT has been a problem to reaching that point, that pinnacle. How do they do it? I think they do it through the public-private relationships, because we know SWIFT GPI can't do it on its own. Instant messaging, instant payments is not instant settlement. The end. That's where we're at on this day. But I'm going to give you this before we go. This article came out and says, in the illustrious words of Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Give Michael Branch a follow. For the first time, it says at U.Today, Ripple has not moved 1 billion XRP out of escrow as the new month has begun. But I found some conflicting information to this. So maybe we could all kind of work on this, because XR Point has here that there is a snapshot of escrow 10/1/22, escrow execution number 7, 500 million. That would be 1/2 of that, right? So that appears to be accurate right there. I'm going to give it a like, but hopefully I'm not the best at this stuff, right? But that's why I call on all of you to help with that. When I look at XRP Arcade, who's great with this stuff, the last thing he has here is in June, but we know that they also had an escrow release in September, so the escrow releases continued all of September. So it appears that this may not be accurate, right? But, we also need to work together, because sometimes I know that people can title their own transactions and stuff on the XRP ledger. But there's the amount. So that should be right. So any help to clarify this will be certainly appreciated. No doubt about it. And again, just to highlight, we did see the escrow release in September, right? From Whale Alert there. So maybe we can get some more resolution on that too. It does appear to me that there was an escrow release. That's pretty significant to me. So we'll have to see what goes on there. But let's all work together to get it done. That's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. I'll catch all of you on the next one.